This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. As I went walking that ribbon of highway, I saw above me that endless skyway. I saw below me the Golden Valley. This land was made for you and me.
I just love the neighborhood my son lives in. He lives in Morgantown up around Cheat Lake. And it's really a neat neighborhood, not because there's fancy houses or gated communities or this or that. It's just a place that are full of children. And what the children do of an evening, they go and they play in everybody's yard and nobody has a problem with it. All the houses, they go to all the houses and play in the yards and go from here and there. Nobody has a problem with it. All the neighbors look after the children. On the road, there's 3 or 4 speed bumps, and there's all kinds of signs along the road saying children at play. And if somebody goes through there driving a little fast, there'll be somebody come out and stop them and tell them there are children here playing. Slow down. It's a wonderful neighborhood. And they play all day, and of an evening, what happens is all the adults gather in my son's yard. He has a big driveway. They bring their lawn chairs, and they sit down and they talk. It's just a wonderful, wonderful neighborhood. It reminds me of the neighborhood that I grew up in. Of an evening, the adults get together and talk, and yes, some of them bring their beer, and some of them bring their wine. I neither condone or condemn. That's not my thing. I know one thing: wine and beer does not keep Jesus away. It's just a wonderful place. I like to go there just to sit out there of an evening and talk to all those people and watch those children play. And some of the discussions always move towards religion. Now, I don't know whether it's because I'm a preacher and I'm sitting there or that just comes up, but it's just a wonderful, wonderful place. It's a gathering. They gather together of evenings, especially in the spring and in the fall. My parents' best friends was Homer and Evelyn Tuckwiller. They met at church at a gathering. They would go to each other's house ever so often, and they'd share a meal and they would talk. I remember one time when I was a kid, my brother had went off to the Air Force. My sister was there. My dad come in and said, the Tuckwillers wants us to come out this evening. They have a surprise. Now, Homer Tuckwiller, that was his name. We called him Tuck. He was a carpenter and a farmer. They had 7 children, 3 boys and 4 girls at different ages. Well, we got into the car. My dad had an old 1962 LeSabre Buick. It was as big as a boat. We got into the car and we headed towards the Tuckwillers. You had to go out Cranberry or Woodbine Road. The road we lived on had two names, Cranberry or Woodbine. You could use either one of them and people would know what you was talking about. The road, if you followed the road unto the end, it came to a point where the Gauley River and the Cranberry River merged together. The Tuckwillers lived right on top of a hill, close to that point. I remember pulling in and I was thinking about what in the world is the surprise? What is the surprise? Walked into the house. Tuck was sitting there and he said, "Ma's in the kitchen." Well, my mother went into the kitchen. My sister headed upstairs to where all the kids were. They were making all kinds of racket. There were 7 of them. I went in and sat down with my dad and Tuck. Tuck pulled out some Prince Albert and he started rolling a cigarette, a Prince Albert cigarette. My dad got his pipe out and they began to smoke and talk. And my dad said, "What's that smell?" I could smell it too. I wondered what in the world that smell was. My dad said, "Tuck, what's that smell?" And he didn't respond. He started talking about something else. About that time, Evelyn yelled in, "Paul, it's ready." And Tuck took the broom handle and hit the ceiling 2 or 3 times. That was a signal for all the kids to come downstairs. And they did. They all come downstairs. And what you did, you walked into the table and you stood around the table. And we was standing there and Tuck started counting. He said, "Yeah, Ma, they're all here." And my mom and Evelyn brought 2 big round things and laid it on the table. My dad said, "What is that?" And I knew that's what was smelling. Boy, it stunk. It really stunk. Evelyn said, "That's pizza pie." Never had pizza pie before. Well, we were all standing there and Tuck blessed the food and we sat down and I took a bite of that and that was wonderful. That was the best thing I had ever eaten. Pizza pie. That was probably 50 years ago. I miss those homemade pizzas made from scratch. Oh, it was good. But really what I miss was the gatherings. It's important to gather together. I know now we're not supposed to gather, but it's really important in life to gather with friends and neighbors. It's really important to gather in the church. If you don't gather together, you forget stuff, you miss stuff. It's just extremely important to gather together. In the scripture, Jesus tells a story. He tells a story about a master who sends out invitations to the people to gather together for a feast. He sends his servant out to tell the people that when they were having it and when to come. The day came and some people came, but not very many. A lot of people come up with excuses about not coming. Well, the master sent him out again and said, "Go to those that are sick, afflicted, those that are hurting, and invite them." And he goes out and he does it, and he comes back and he says, "There's still room. There's still room for more people." And he says, "Go again. Go out amongst the hedges, behind the walls, in those places that people don't like to go, and invite them." And the master says, those that were invited at first and didn't come will never taste the wonderful food of this feast. Now it's hard to gather because of the virus. It's hard to gather together, but Jesus said, "Where 2 or 3 people gather in my name, there I will be also. I'm going to send out an invitation. It's together, but it's together spiritually and mentally, in one mind and one accord. What if the whole world set aside one day to fast and pray for a vaccine? What if our state would set aside one day to pray specifically for a vaccine? What if our conference and our churches in the West Virginia Conference would set one day for people to fast and pray specifically for a vaccine? I wonder what would happen. I know what would happen. The invitation has been given. Amen.
I roamed and rambled, I followed my footsteps to the sparkling sands of her diamond deserts, and all around me a voice was sounding. This land was made for you and me. Strolling in the wheat fields, waving in the dust clouds rolling. A voice was chanting as the fog was lifting. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land. This land is mine. From California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters, this land was made for you and me.
This land was made for you